You ever listen to a political speech and just wonder, how is that actually working? Well, today, we're taking a recent monologue from Donald Trump and we're going to break it down. We're not here to talk politics. Instead, we're going to deconstruct the communication strategy behind it, piece by piece. Let's see how the argument was really built.
So, right out of the gate, it starts with this incredibly direct, dismissive line. And the immediate questions are, who's he talking about? And what even set this off? Let's dig into what kicked this whole thing off.
Okay, so the spark for all this? It was the Grammy Awards. The host, Trevor Noah, apparently made some comments about Trump, and this monologue, well, this was the direct response.
So the very first move here is to go after the source. The host is called terrible and lousy, the show itself is unwatchable, and he even throws in a direct comparison to Jimmy Kimmel. And you gotta see the strategy here, right? Discredit the person delivering the message before you even get to the message itself.
So once he's kind of thrown shade at the source, the monologue pivots to what the insult was actually about. And this is where we get to the real heart of it, this whole connection to Jeffrey Epstein.
The response is just boom, immediate and absolute. I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. It's a complete no-holds-barred denial. It's really designed to just shut that whole line of argument down. But, a statement that strong needs some backup, right? So let's see what comes next. So how does he back that up? He brings in what he presents as a massive piece of evidence, a huge document released from the Department of Justice. 3 million pages. Using a huge specific number like that, it's a classic technique to add a real sense of weight and authority to your claim. And what's the conclusion he says comes from all that paper? Simple. Nothing on me. So you see the logic he's laying out, right? The investigation was huge, it was thorough, and according to him, it completely cleared his name. And this is where things get really interesting. We see a classic move. The monologue shifts from being on defense to going on the offense. It's not just about saying, I'm innocent anymore. It's about pointing the fingers somewhere else.
This slide just lays it out so clearly. The spotlight, which was right on Trump and his connection to Epstein, gets swung over, bam, onto Bill Clinton and the Democrats. The entire conversation just got reframed. And he does this with some pretty direct accusations. He actually names Bill Clinton. He claims the Democrats are the ones pushing this whole story, and then he just completely flips the script, suggesting that actually they're the ones who are really involved with Epstein.
But the pivot doesn't even stop there. It morphs into something even more specific and complex. Basically, he lays out what he says is a conspiracy aimed right at him. Okay, so let's break down how this alleged plot is structured. Step 1, you've got Jeffrey Epstein. Step 2, he supposedly conspired with a writer who isn't named, just called a sleazebag writer. And step 3, what was the whole point of this supposed conspiracy? To make Donald Trump lose the election. So you see how this all ties together? This whole conspiracy claim is used as the ultimate proof of his innocence. The logic he's presenting is basically, hey, if Epstein was plotting against me, how could I possibly have been working with him? It's a way to reframe himself from a potential associate into a direct victim of a plot. Okay, let's pull back for a second and look at all the pieces we've just laid out. What we just walked through, it's not just a bunch of random comments. It's a pretty layered communication strategy, and it has some really distinct parts. All right, so let's recap the playbook we just saw in action. First, you dismiss and discredit your accuser. Then, you issue a flat-out, unequivocal denial. Next, you pivot and go on the attack, shifting the focus to your opponents over the very same issue. And finally, you frame yourself as the victim by alleging there was a conspiracy against you. See how each step just builds on the last one? And really, that's what this whole breakdown was about. We wanted to take what can sound like a really chaotic, off-the-cuff monologue and just peel back the layers to show you the underlying structure, the rhetorical strategy that's actually at work. And that kind of leaves us with a bigger question to chew on, right? When any public figure gets accused of something, what's the real goal of their response? Is it to actually prove their innocence in a court of law? Or is it all about winning the argument in the court of public opinion? It's definitely something to think about the next time you hear a statement like this one.